How many years have you studied English and still go silent when someone speaks to you? You've sat through countless classes, memorized endless vocabulary lists, probably even aced a few grammar tests. Yet, when a native speaker throws a simple question your way, your mind goes blank. Your tongue feels glued to the roof of your mouth. The words are there somewhere, buried deep in the dusty archives of your brain, but they refuse to come out. It's not a memory problem. It's a fundamental flaw in how you've been taught, how you've been trained to think. And let me tell you, your brain absolutely hates it. It fights it, it resists it, and it keeps you locked in this frustrating cycle of almost fluent. They told you to just speak and don't be afraid of mistakes, but they never told you why that advice by itself is almost useless. It's like telling someone to just run when they've only ever learned to walk backwards. You're operating on a flawed premise, a fundamental misunderstanding of how real communication works. You've been programmed to translate, to build sentences piece by agonizing piece in your head, running them through a mental grammar checker before a single sound escapes your lips. This isn't speaking. It's performing a complex, real-time mental calculation, and it's why you freeze. It's why spontaneity feels like an impossible dream. Your brain is a supercomputer, but you're feeding it code from a broken floppy disk. Imagine this. You're walking into an interview. The interviewer smiles, extends a hand, and says, "So tell me a little about yourself, in English, please." Your heart immediately starts doing a drum solo against your ribs. Your palms get clammy. You want to articulate your experience, your passion, your skills, but your mind is already in overdrive, desperately searching for the perfect past participle, the correct preposition. You're not thinking about what you want to say, but how to say it perfectly. This isn't a vocabulary deficit. This isn't a grammar gap. This is a reflex failure. Your mind, trained to filter every thought through your native language first, simply can't keep up. It's like a martial artist who knows every move in a book but has never stepped into a real fight. They can recite the theory, but they can't react. You're reading about fighting, while the world is asking you to spar. This isn't about being smart enough. You are smart enough. It's about being trained right. Most learners spend years perfecting their understanding, their reading, their writing, all while neglecting the single most important component of spoken fluency, the instantaneous connection between thought and sound. You've built a magnificent library of English knowledge, but you have no express delivery system for the books. The truth is brutal. You're not practicing speaking, you're practicing translating. And that's a different skill entirely, a skill that actually hinders your progress. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to break your English barrier forever. So, let's shatter one of the biggest, most insidious myths holding you back. You need perfect grammar to speak English fluently. What a load of absolute garbage. Look around you. The most fluent speakers you know, the ones who effortlessly glide through conversations, laugh easily, and connect deeply. How often do you think they're consciously parsing verb tenses or checking for subject-verb agreement? Never. They're too busy living in the language. They're not thinking about English. They're thinking in English. Your brain, the incredible adaptive machine that it is, learns patterns, not rules. It picks up the rhythm, the flow, the intuition. When you force it through the rigid, rule-based filter of grammar translation, you're not helping it learn, you're shackling it. You're telling it, wait, stop, don't speak until you've consulted the sacred grammar textbook. And that hesitation, that split-second delay, is the killer of fluency. It's the chasm between thinking and speaking that makes you feel dumb, even when you know all the answers. Consider this harsh reality. People who learned English on the streets through sheer immersion often speak with incredible fluency, even if their grammar isn't textbook perfect. Why? Because they learned reflexes. They learned to respond, not to construct. They stumbled, they made mistakes, but they kept pushing sounds out, kept getting their message across. And their brains, starved for communication, adapted at lightning speed. Meanwhile, you, with your perfect scores on grammar tests, are still stuck. You're the highly educated general who's never seen a battlefield. You know all the strategies, but you can't fight. Here's the cold hard truth. If you train wrong, you'll stay wrong. You'll perpetuate the very habits that keep you frozen. But if you train right, 3 months can change everything. You can rewire your brain. You can build those instantaneous reflexes. It starts with a simple yet profoundly difficult shift. You must stop translating. Yes, I know, it feels alien, it feels impossible. But every time you catch yourself translating a sentence from your native language into English, you're reinforcing the very barrier you want to break. You're telling your brain, this is how we operate, this is the slow, arduous path, and your brain, ever obedient, will follow. So how do you do it? How do you dismantle years of ingrained habit? It's not about magic, it's about deliberate, consistent effort. It's about a mind hack formula that bypasses the translation center of your brain and goes straight for the English core. Forget thinking in English as some vague, lofty goal. Let's make it concrete. Let's make it actionable. Step 1. Start small. Start with single words. When you see a chair, don't think chair in your native tongue and then translate it to chair in English. See the chair and immediately think chair. See a tree, think tree. Hear a sound, identify it in English. This isn't about memorizing. It's about forming direct connections. Your brain is a neural network. You've been adding extra unnecessary nodes between your native concept and the English word. Cut them out. Create a direct line. You can do this while walking down the street, while grocery shopping, even while doing the dishes. Describe your actions to yourself silently in English. I am washing the plate. This is soap. The water is warm. It feels weird at first, maybe even a little crazy, but it's the first hammer blow against the translation wall. This immediate, unmediated connection is what fluent speakers do instinctively. You're just building that instinct. This immediate, unmediated connection is what fluent speakers do instinctively. You're just building that instinct. Step 2. Don't just pronounce words correctly. Act like you're the character. Speak like you own the voice. This isn't about mimicking, it's about internalizing. Most learners focus on individual sounds, on perfect phonetics, which is fine for an accent reduction class, but it utterly misses the point of communication. Real speaking involves rhythm, intonation, emotion. It's a performance. When you listen to a native speaker, don't just hear the words, feel the energy behind them. Watch their mouth, yes, but also watch their eyes, their gestures, the subtle shifts in their body, then embody it. Find a short clip. A movie scene, a snippet of a podcast, even a TikTok video. Something with a character whose delivery you admire. Don't just repeat after them. Become them. If they're angry, let your voice convey anger. If they're sarcastic, infuse sarcasm into your repetition. This is not about being fake. It's about unlocking the emotional dimension of language. When you attach emotion and physical expression to words, they become alive in your brain. They're no longer abstract symbols. They're tools for connection, for persuasion, for laughter. This is why children learn languages so quickly. They don't intellectualize, they imitate, they play, they embody. You're going back to that primal, effective mode of learning. Practice this in front of a mirror. Talk to your reflection. Make faces. Exaggerate. Feel ridiculous. Because feeling ridiculous means you're breaking free from the self-conscious prison of perfectionism. You're building the muscle memory not just of the tongue, but of the entire communicative apparatus. This seemingly small, almost playful action is a profound psychological bypass around your inner critic. It tells your brain this language is mine to play with. Now, for the brutal, high-impact strategy that ties it all together, reflex training. You lack reflex, and that's the single biggest reason you freeze. You know the words, but you can't deploy them fast enough under pressure. This is where the academic world completely fails you. They give you knowledge. They don't give you combat readiness. Forget flashcards for passive recall. This is active, aggressive, real-time training. Here's how you do it, every single day without fail. Immediate response drills. This isn't about conversations. It's about conditioning your brain to react instantly. Find a partner, a friend, another learner, even an AI chatbot if you must, though a human is always better for the psychological pressure. Set a timer. For 5 minutes, one of you asks rapid-fire simple questions, and the other must answer immediately. No thinking, no translating. The answer doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be instantaneous. How are you? Good. What did you eat for breakfast? Toast. What color is this shirt? Blue. It sounds simplistic, even childish, but this is how you build the neural pathways for speed. You're bypassing the conscious mind and activating the fight-or-flight response for communication. Your brain learns that it must produce English, and quickly. Increase the complexity gradually. After a week of simple questions, move to slightly more open-ended ones. What are your plans for the weekend? I plan to relax. Not a perfect answer, but an immediate answer. The goal is to reduce the latency, the lag time between hearing and responding. This is literally building English reflexes, like a boxer training punches, not by reading about them, thousands of times. You train your mouth to move, your brain to connect, without the crippling burden of internal translation. This is the difference between knowing English and speaking English. The difference between a frustrated learner and someone who finally feels like they own the language. The biggest lie you've been fed is that fluency is about knowing more words. It's not. It's about using the words you already know, reflexively, under pressure. Think of it like this. You know hundreds, maybe thousands of English words. But how many of them can you access and deploy in under 2 seconds when a native speaker is looking at you, waiting for a response? Probably a tiny fraction. That's your active vocabulary, and that's what matters for fluency. The rest is just passive knowledge, sitting dormant, serving no real purpose for communication. Your goal isn't to amass more words, it's to activate the words you have. This is why traditional methods fail. They fill your head with passive knowledge, then expect you to magically transform it into active, real-time communication. It's like teaching someone to swim by having them memorize a textbook on fluid dynamics. They might ace the test, but they'll drown in the pool. You need to jump in, you need to splash, you need to struggle, and then eventually you'll float, and then you'll swim. The confidence you crave isn't built by knowing more grammar rules. It's built by doing. It's built by facing that split-second terror of the blank mind and pushing through it. Every single time you force an imperfect response out, you are building a tiny brick in the foundation of your confidence. You are proving to yourself, not just intellectually but instinctively, that you can speak this language. And that inner knowing is far more powerful than any textbook knowledge. It's the difference between someone who can talk about English and someone who can just talk in English. You're not stuck because your English is bad. You're stuck because you're still trying to speak perfectly. Real speakers make mistakes, while you're still afraid to open your mouth.